Hello and welcome to Smartling. This video will guide you through the first steps of working in our platform as an agency owner. If your client has requested access to the Smartling platform for you, one of our representatives will create your user account. To complete your registration, you will then need to set up a password. To do so, please visit the Smartling login page at dashboard.smartling.com. Smartling is a cloud-based translation platform, so you will not need to install or download any software. To set up a password for your account, please enter your email address on the login screen and click Continue. Then click Forgot Password and request a new password for your Smartling account. You will now receive an email with further instructions. Please click the Reset Password link in the email to confirm your account and to create your Smartling password. Your account is now confirmed and you can log into the Smartling dashboard at any time directly from your browser at dashboard.smartling.com. You might want to bookmark this URL if you would like to proactively check your dashboard. Smartling uses two-step verification to keep your account secure. This means that after entering your login credentials, you will be asked to submit an additional verification code, which will be sent to your email address. Simply copy the verification code from the email, enter it on the login page, and click Submit. You are now authenticated and logged in. Once you are logged in, we would recommend adjusting the notification settings to your preferences. This ensures that you will receive an email from Smartling whenever a task requires your attention. To do so, please access the notification settings from the drop-down menu next to your name. Most importantly, to allow Smartling to notify you about tasks that require your attention, please make sure that the notifications for your account are enabled. You can then select the exact notifications that you would like to receive. We would strongly recommend enabling the notifications for new content to assign. That way, you will know exactly when your action is required to assign new content to one of your linguists. For alerts about new translation work, you can choose whether you prefer to be notified in real time or if you would like to receive a daily digest instead. Once you have adjusted the global notification preferences, you can then navigate to the Project tab. Projects are what we call your customers' translation environments in Smartling. For example, your customer may have a project for their marketing collateral and a different project for the translation of legal documents. So here you can further tweak the notifications that you will receive for each of your customers' projects. Once your notification preferences are all set, let's go back to the home screen by clicking on the Smartling logo. From the Projects drop-down, you can access each of your customers' projects. As we have seen before, projects are translation environments for certain content types. In our example, our client has set up a project for their marketing assets, a separate project for their legal documents, a project for the translation of their website, etc. The individual translation tasks that your team will be working on are called jobs in Smartling. We will soon take a closer look at this jobs dashboard, which displays all jobs for your agency across all customer projects. For now, let's click into one of the available projects. This takes you to the project summary page, where you can get an overview of the latest activity in this project. From the Strings tab, you can access the translatable content in this project, which is automatically broken down into smaller units called strings. A range of filtering options on the left-hand side allows you to locate specific strings, so you can then take action on them. Typically, you only need to access this strings view if you would like to take action on a very granular level or across multiple jobs within the same project. From the top navigation bar, you can access further resources which will allow you to manage your customer's translation project as well as your team. The Team Hub, which is accessible from any project summary page, allows you to manage your team of linguists and their permissions. Before we take a closer look, it is important to understand the concept of a workflow in Smartling, which is crucial to setting up your team. Each language in a job will need to follow a certain set of steps that we call a workflow. For example, there could be a translation step, an editing step, and then a step for the customer's internal review. Your client will grant you access to one or more of these workflow steps and can configure them based on your requirements. In particular, we would recommend discussing 2 workflow settings with your customer so they can be tailored to your preferences. The first workflow setting to discuss with your customer is called Content Assignment. This feature allows you to manually assign each job to your preferred linguist. We would recommend enabling this setting if you have 2 or more linguists for any given language and workflow step. That way, you can distribute the workload based on your team's availability and choose which linguist should work on each job. If content assignment is disabled, any new content will automatically be available for all linguists working on a given language and workflow step, and they can all work on it simultaneously. So instead, to avoid any overlaps, we would recommend enabling content assignment for teams of 2 or more translators per locale. If you would like to speed things up, instead of having to manually assign each new job to a linguist, you can make use of an additional setting called claiming. Claiming or accepting means that your linguists will be notified whenever a new job is ready to be worked on. If a translator is available to deliver the job within the specified deadline, they can accept it, which means that they can assign it to themselves on a first-come, first-served basis. Once a job has been claimed, it will disappear for all other linguists, so there won't be any overlaps. We would recommend enabling this feature if your team works on a large number of jobs, which could take a long time to assign manually. Allowing linguists to claim jobs may also help avoid delays if many of your translators work outside of your own time zone. To recap, both content assignment and claiming are optional workflow settings which can be enabled or disabled directly by your client. This cannot be done on your end. If your client needs any assistance with configuring these settings based on your preferences, they can always reach out to their Smartling Customer Success Manager. If you would like to allow your linguists to claim or accept jobs, an additional step is required after your customer has enabled this setting on their end. From the Team Hub, please navigate to the Work Assignments. This checkbox needs to be ticked in order for your translators to be able to claim new content. Once this setting is enabled, your linguists can now assign new jobs to themselves. Once all workflow steps have been configured, you are now ready to set up your team of translators in Smartling. Smartling is a collaborative platform, so you can create a Smartling user account for all linguists who will be working on your client's translations at no cost for you. Simply click into any project that you have access to. From the Team Hub, please click into the Users page. Here you can manage the Smartling accounts of your team members. To create a new linguist account, please click Add User. Then select the desired role for your new team member. The standard user role for a translator or editor is called Translation Resource. This is the profile that you will need to select for a regular translator, editor, or reviewer account. The other available user role, Translation Resource Manager, is meant for language leads or senior linguists who should be able to translate or edit content, but who also manage a team of translators and need to assign content to other linguists for the same language. Please note that if a colleague joins you as an agency owner and needs to get the same level of access as yourself, you will need to reach out to your Smartling Success Manager, as this type of account cannot be created from your Team Hub. In our example, let's go with the most common use case and select a translation resource profile. Once you have entered and confirmed your linguist's email address, you then need to grant them access to one or more workflow steps. This is essential, no matter if you choose to manually assign new jobs to your team members or not. Simply click Add Assignment and select their language pair. The next drop-down menu lists out all of the workflows that your agency has access to. Please select the relevant one and then specify one or more steps that your new linguist should work on. Once you click Save Changes, the linguist will now receive an invitation email from Smartling and they can complete their account setup. Of course, you can give your linguists access to multiple workflows or workflow steps. For existing team members, you can also see a separate Permissions tab here. If your client has granted you custom permissions To access or edit their linguistic assets, you can share these permissions with your linguists here. For example, if your client has authorized your agency to make edits to their translation memory, you can grant the same permission to your linguists for the relevant language, so they can make adjustments to the customer's translation memory directly from their Smartling dashboard. Any linguistic assets that your agency has been given access to are available in a dedicated tab within the relevant customer project. Let's go back to the home screen by clicking on the Smartling logo. Your home screen shows the Jobs dashboard, which lists out all of the active translation and editing tasks for your team across all of your customers' projects. On the left-hand side, you can find several filtering and search options. For example, you can filter for high-priority jobs or jobs pertaining to a specific customer account. The most important view will be the Require Assignment tab. Here you can find all jobs that need to be assigned to one of your linguists. You can see the name of each translation job, as well as the project that it belongs to, and your customer's name. We would recommend also checking the little icons underneath the job name to see if any attachments or descriptions have been provided for further context. Next, you can see the number of target languages. This column can be expanded to display the actual languages that are needed for each job, as well as a progress bar for each individual language. You can check the word count for each language and workflow step, as well as the total word count for the entire job. To get a more detailed estimate of the word count, please click on the ellipsis menu on the right-hand side and select Fuzzy Estimate. This is where you can see the breakdown of each language by fuzzy matched here, as well as the total count of weighted words. You can download this estimate in a CSV format for further processing. The fuzzy matched tiers, which are displayed in our estimates, show our default percentage range, as well as two separate rows for repetitions and smart matches. Repetitions are referring to the identical source text being included more than once in a job. For example, if my job contains 3 different strings that all say "Welcome to Smartling," these will be counted as repetitions. Smart matches, on the other hand, are referring to exact matches from your customer's translation memory, which will skip one or more workflow steps. The fuzzy match tiers, ranging from 0 to 100%, can be customized if you have agreed on different percentages for invoicing with your customer. Please reach out to your client, who can adjust their fuzzy match profile to fit your requirements. Simply provide your desired fuzzy match tiers, as well as the corresponding rate percentage for each tier. The tiers and discounts can then be adjusted accordingly for your estimates and word counts report. To know when a job will need to be delivered, please refer to the due date column. Here you can see the overall job due date. This is the final deadline when all of the necessary workflow steps will need to be completed for a job. including any review steps that the customer might carry out after your team have delivered their work. To make sure that the overall job due date can be met, many customers will set up a specific task due date for your team. We would recommend clicking on the gear icon to check for any task due dates that might need to be taken into consideration. If there is a task due date set up for your team, please consider this as your deadline. For example, if the task due date for your translators is set to November 7th, and the task due date for your editors is set to November 10th, the reviewers who will check the translations on the customer side will have 5 extra days to hit the overall job due date of November 15th. If there is no task due date listed here, your team can simply work towards the overall job due date. If your linguists work across multiple workflow steps, you can even set up some task due dates yourself. So each linguist will know their individual deadline for their specific step. Your linguists will see these task due dates in a very prominent position in their Smartling dashboard. All dates and times are shown in your local browser time zone. To select which linguist should work on a job, please click Assign. You can now select your preferred translator from the drop-down menu. At the same time, you can also pre-select the linguists who should work on any subsequent steps. In our example, we are assigning the job to a translator, and we can determine at the same time which editor should proofread the translations once the translator will submit their work. Once you click Save, this job is now available for the selected linguist, who will be notified automatically via email. When a job has been fully assigned to your linguists, it is removed from the Require Assignment tab and shows up under All Jobs instead. Here you can see all active jobs that are currently open and being worked on by your team. If a job can't be delivered on time because the assigned linguist is unavailable, you can reassign it to a different team member. To do so, please click View Details next to the job, and then click on the word count for the language and workflow step that needs to be reassigned. This will take you to the strings view for this job, where you can see all strings for the selected language and workflow step. Select all strings that you would like to reassign. From the Actions menu, click Edit Assignments and unassign the strings. Once the content has been unassigned, it can now be reassigned to a different linguist. Simply select the relevant content to assign and access the Actions menu again. Click Edit Assignments and assign the strings to a different linguist. You can also check the other tabs in your jobs dashboard to monitor the progress and to ensure that all jobs will be delivered on time. Jobs are displayed in the At Risk tab if the task due date for a workflow step that your team is assigned to was missed. Since the task due date wasn't met, These jobs are now at risk of missing the overall job due date as well. Jobs are considered as due soon if the overall job due date is coming up in the next 48 hours. The Late Jobs tab allows you to check and follow up on any jobs that have not been fully completed, even though the job due date has already passed. If your team works on an editing or review step, the Upcoming tab shows jobs which are currently still being translated and will soon become available for your editors. You can come in here to proactively check how many words will soon come your way for editing or review and when they will be due. Sometimes a question about the text to translate may prevent your team from submitting their jobs on time. This is why you can find a separate tab for open issues in your jobs dashboard, where you can check any jobs that have unresolved issues. The Issues feature in Smartling allows your team to submit questions about the text to translate directly to your client without having to leave the Smartling platform. We call this type of question a source issue. Similarly, your customer or any reviewers can also provide direct feedback by rejecting a translation and opening a translation issue. The Open Issues tab allows you to see jobs with both source issues and translation issues. Simply click on the red flag symbol. You can now see the original issue, as well as any comments and answers that may have been provided. If you would like to see the queries and comments across all jobs, you can access the full issues report from your Reports tab. Here you can check for both resolved and unresolved issues. You might want to run this report on a regular basis to check for feedback about the translation quality or to follow up on any open questions. You can also proactively leave a comment if you would like to share some input. Any new comments will trigger an automated email notification to the linguist who is working on the translation, so they will be alerted to new responses. Similarly, if your email notifications are enabled, you will also be notified about any updates to issues that you actively commented on. If you have been asked by your client to take care of desktop publishing to provide them with a fully formatted, localized file, you will need to download the translated files for the relevant job. You can do so by clicking on the ellipsis menu and selecting the option Download Files. Please note that many clients use job attachments to provide their source files and design material. So you may also want to check the job attachments. The finished and fully formatted localized files can then also be uploaded as a job attachment. Once the localized files have been attached, the strings for the relevant language can then be submitted. Once translations have been submitted by your team and are fully published in Smartling, they can only be amended or rejected if your client has given you access to do so. From the Projects drop-down, please click into the relevant project and navigate to the Strings view. You are now able to see all strings in this project across all workflow steps that you have access to. To see only strings that are completed and published in Smartling, please use the status filter. Of course, you can also apply any other filters to find the translations that you would like to amend. If your client has enabled you to reject published translations, simply select the relevant strings and choose the option Reject Translation from the Actions menu. You have the option to open a translation issue to explain what should be corrected. Once you click Reject, the selected strings are now sent back to a previous step in the workflow so they can be corrected by a linguist. Alternatively, if you would like to amend any translations yourself, you can simply open the relevant string in the Cat tool from the Ellipsis menu. You can now make any necessary changes and save the updated translation. Smartling also offers robust reporting to give you valuable insights into your team's workload and translation quality. To check your reports, please click into one of the available projects from the Projects drop-down. From the Reports menu, you can now access all available reports. The word counts report shows how many total words and weighted words were submitted by your team within a given time range. This report lists out the word count of each job that your team worked on by fuzzy matched here. You can download it in a CSV format for further processing and filtering, so it can be used as a basis for your invoices. As previously mentioned, if you use different fuzzy match tiers for your client invoices, please reach out to your client who can adjust their fuzzy match profile to fit your requirements. The String Changes report gives you insight into any changes and edits that were made to the translations submitted by your team. This report allows you and your team to learn about your client's preferences and tailor your translations accordingly over time. For even more detailed feedback about the quality of the translations delivered by your team and any potential errors, you can check the Linguistic Quality Assurance Errors and Arbitration report. Linguistic Quality Assurance, or LQA, is a review process where translation errors are recorded in an objective manner based on a defined schema. If your client carries out linguistic quality assurance, you can use this report to view all errors that were recorded for the translations submitted by your team. You can also use this report to dispute and arbitrate errors, which means that you can leave a comment to explain why a certain translation was chosen. If you need more information about the Smartling platform and any of its features, we would recommend taking a look at our Help Center, where you can find valuable information to help you get started. Of course, the Smartling team is also here to help if you have any questions. You can reach our support team directly from the Help tab by clicking Contact Support. Thank you very much for watching and for your time today.